Hey everyone, I can't believe we are almost in the 20th season of Apex Legends, but today we have my best settings for Apex Legends Season 19. Every season I do one of these videos, I have a few tweaks from the previous season that I think you will want to hear about. Plus, as always, I do have a couple different recommendations based on the type of player that you are. I hope this video helps you out. Let's get right to it. We're going to start off with the gameplay tab. We have Interact Prom Style. I do default. You could do Compact if you want less information on your screen. Personally, I like to see the default layout. I don't mind having that big box. It doesn't really bother me. If you do want the cleanest screen possible, or if you don't want those items to block stuff that is on screen, then I would do Compact. Button hints I have as off. You could turn this on if you are unfamiliar with the game, or if you are new to Apex Legends, but me, I know what all the buttons are. I don't need that to be on my screen. Crosshair damage feedback, I have this as off. You could turn this on if you want that hit marker. Personally, I don't need the hit markers. I have the damage numbers popping up. That gives me all the information I need. If you are a Watson or a Caustic player, you may want to have the X on, so when someone walks into your gas or if someone walks into your fence, you're going to know that they are getting ticked by that fence or that gas. But generally, I will say you do usually have audio indicators when they do hit these, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Damage numbers I have as stacking. You don't really want individual and you don't really want floating. If they're stacking, it just tells you the total damage that you're doing. I don't want to have to add up how many shots I'm hitting and whatnot. I just want to see the total damage that I am dishing out. Ping opacity, I do default. I find faded sometimes I just can't see the pings. Maybe I'm getting old, I don't know. So I leave this as default. Obituaries, this is your kill feed. Definitely want this on. Minimap rotation, this will be your personal preference. I like to have it off. I like the north side of my map to always be at the top of my screen. Just better helps me orient myself. If you want the map to move with the direction you are moving, you could turn this as on. Weapon auto cycle on empty. This is something relatively new for me. I am leaving this as on. As soon as I run out of ammo, my gun's gonna change instantly, and then I can start shooting my secondary. Auto sprint I have as on. This is basically just to save my left joystick, so I'm not slamming in that joystick to sprint as much. Double tap to sprint, I have this as off. Jetpack control, I have as hold. I find using hold with Valkyrie's jetpack is just way more natural for me. You could do toggle if you're not playing claw or if you're not playing with paddles, but personally, I think hold is the way to go. Incoming damage feedback, I have as 3D. Taking damage closes death box or crafting menu. Absolutely, you want this as off. If you go in to get an armor swap and this is on, it's gonna rip you out of that death box right as you're about to get the armor swap. So you definitely want this to be as off. Hop up, pop up. I don't mind seeing the hop ups appear in the right corner like that right there for the Peacekeeper or the Disruptor rounds. If you have this as off, it won't tell you that the hop up's on. Personally, I don't mind at all. Streamer mode I have as off. I'm not a big streamer. I don't need this. Anonymous mode I have as disabled. Usage sharing I have this as enabled. I do have this because honestly, I don't really mind sending EA my data. I just don't really care. Cross-platform is on by default. Performance display is off. You could have this on if you want to see your ping, if you want to see your frame rate. I have this as off because I am recording videos all the time and I like to have my screen be as clean as possible. Club invites I have as disabled. I get spammed a ton of these. Communication filter I have as everybody. Reticle I have custom and same for laser sights. I'm doing the same 12, 255, 12. I find it leaves this nice neon green. It works on pretty much all the maps. I think it's really good in dark areas, which a couple maps when you are in a very dark area, it can be hard to see people, and having this bright crosshair honestly just helps for me. Accessibility settings, this will be all what you need in your personal preferences, but I have this as all as off or normal. I don't need any of these, so it will be up to you if you do want anything. One thing I will say is you could turn on subtitles. Sometimes it'll just give you that written confirmation of what the character is saying. This could be nice if you are having trouble hearing, but personally, I don't need it. Before we go to the controller settings, let's go to quickly do video and audio. These will just take a second. Brightness, this is gonna depend on your monitor. I do middle or a little bit past middle. Field of view, I got 104. Field of view ability scaling disabled. This is like when you use an Octane stim, it's gonna change your FOV. I don't want this. I want my FOV to be consistent all the time. And I don't do 110 FOV because frankly, I don't think it's really necessary. I like 104. It gives me a little bit more punch in where I can have a little bit more accuracy in my shot. Sprint view shake, I want minimal. I don't want my screen to be shaking when I'm sprinting. It just doesn't seem necessary. Audio, this is gonna kind of depend on your settings, but you definitely want dialogue, music, and lobby music to be down like 10 to 15%. You don't want any of these to interfere with your gameplay. And then I do sound effects absolutely at 100%, and I do master volume at 85%. This is kind of just based on my recording thing though, so you could have this at 100. All right, so going to the controller tab. So for button layout, I have a couple recommendations for you. We got button puncher, which honestly, I just don't like to hit that right stick. I hit that right stick on accident sometimes and I'll melee. I don't want this to happen. button, so I do button puncher. If you do use button puncher as well, this will allow you to crouch in fights, which I can find to be very useful. If you do not have paddles, you can use evolved. This will let you keep that right thumb and that right stick all the time, and you can have full movement of your character. So you can hit the left bumper to jump, right stick to crouch, and this is something that I absolutely think you should be using if you're not using paddles. I have 2 paddles on the back of my controller. If you are wondering, I'm doing jump and crouch on the back, and that's it. If you are looking for an additional recommendation, if you do get paddles, I absolutely recommend that you use at least 3. I would do jump and crouch, and then also do reload and interact also on a back paddle. This will dramatically just let you speed up looting, let you speed up interacting in death boxes. I personally just have never gotten used to it, so I only do 2 paddles. From this, we got stick layout. You're gonna want default. I guess you could do some weird like Southpaw and Legacy, but I think most people, 99.9%, are gonna do default. Interact reload, you can do a couple. You can do hold to use, tap to reload. Of course, you got tap to use and hold to reload. I don't really want to hold the X button, hold my reload button to do any sort of weird stuff, so I do tap to use both. This can have some issues when you're on like doorways and stuff, but there is ways around this in game. You can empty your mag and your gun will start reloading, or you can look away from a door and you'll be able to reload, so don't worry about this too much. You want tap to use and tap to reload. Crouch button I do as hold because this is going to let me bunny hop much more easily. If you have it as toggle, you just can't really bunny hop as good. And personally, I think bunny hopping in the movement is just kind of fun, so I like to have it as hold. Aim button we got as hold. Obviously, survival slot is on for me. Trigger dead zones I have as none. Menu cursor speed, you want this around half, or maybe just less than half, or just above half. Doesn't quite matter exactly. If you have it too slow, it's just gonna be way too slow to loot up and whatnot. If you have it too fast, your accuracy is just gonna be really bad. You want this to be relatively in the middle, maybe just under, maybe just above. Look sensitivity, I'm running 4:4 Classic. I do have another recommendation, but I do 4:4 Classic because I've always played on Classic. I've been playing shooter games on controller for like 25 years now. So doing something different than this just feels very unnatural, and I just don't have the time to learn new inputs. If you are new to Apex Legends, or if you are looking for what I would say is the pro type of play, I would definitely do 4-4 linear or 4-3 linear, because this is honestly going to give you the most consistency when you are looking around. Everything is just one-to-one. You know, you move here, you move here. It's going to be just very consistent with how you are moving. Can do look dead zone small if you're doing 4-3 linear. If you're doing classic, you don't really need a dead zone. You can do that as none. And again, this is going to really depend on what you want. I do 4-4 classic because classic will help you shoot a little bit at longer ranges with more precision, because you can just move the stick a little bit smaller than you could on linear. Linear is going to be way better if you are in close range fights. And in Apex Legends, close range fights generally are dominant, which is why 4-4 or 4-3 linear is really what the majority of the pros are using. Movement dead zone I have as small. You could do this as large if you are having some stick drift. I don't have stick drift right now on my controller, knock on wood. Inverted look off, and vibration I also have as off. I think having vibration on just makes my hand shake, makes me miss some shots, and I think having it as off lets me have a little bit better accuracy. But honestly, if you want vibration on for that feedback, if you're getting shot, if you want to know all that, that is okay as well. Advanced load controls I don't really recommend using, but honestly, if you want to use advanced load controls because you want to fine tune, this is set up for classic right here, and you can copy this if you want to. It's nothing too crazy. If you want a linear, you just drop response curve down to 0, and then this is pretty much linear. So I don't use these though. I find that aim assist just isn't as strong, so I don't really recommend using ALC at all. And that is going to be it for my Apex Legends Season 19 best settings. Be sure to leave a like, hit the subscribe button if you want more. Check out this video right here on screen if you do want more ways to improve your skills. I will see you in the next one. Happy gaming, Legends.